Sometimes God lets your obedience fail on purpose. That sentence probably just landed hard, because if you're watching this, you may have prayed, surrendered, counseled, sacrificed, and still watched something you built for God fall completely apart. And the pain of that is different from ordinary failure. It doesn't just hurt your plans, it shakes your understanding of how God works. So before anything else, I want to sit here with you for a minute, because you deserve more than a quick reframe. When obedience ends in rubble, you did everything you believed He asked. You sought counsel, you waited, you walked through the door you were sure He opened, and then it collapsed. Not because you were reckless, not because you ignored warning signs, but somehow it still fell apart. What makes this particular kind of pain so disorientating is that it doesn't just feel like disappointment. It feels like the rules changed, like the agreement broke. There's a deep human assumption that good choices produce good outcomes, and when that doesn't happen, something inside you fractures. Psychologists actually call it moral injury, not just sadness, a rupture in how you understand the world. Job knew this feeling. He searched for God in every direction and couldn't find Him. Behold, I go forward, but He is not there, and backward, but I do not perceive Him. On the left hand when He is working, I do not behold Him. He turns to the right hand, but I do not see Him. But He knows the way that I take. When He has tried me, I shall come out as gold. Job chapter 23 verses 8 through 10. Notice what Job doesn't do. He doesn't pretend the confusion isn't real. He names it. And God never rebukes him for that honesty. Your questions right now, they don't offend God. Your grief is not rebellion. The silence you're living in may not mean He left. It may mean He's taking you somewhere transactional faith was never designed to reach. The branch that was already bearing fruit. Here's the part most people don't expect. In John 15, Jesus describes the Father as a gardener. And the gardener doesn't only cut away dead branches. He prunes the ones that are already producing fruit. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes, that it may bear more fruit. John chapter 15 verse 2. Read that slowly. The pruning happens to the fruitful branch, not as punishment, but as preparation for something deeper. So the collapse you experienced may not be evidence that you missed God. It may be evidence that you were close enough to Him, that He trusted you with a harder season. Joseph understood this in the most painful way. He resisted Potiphar's wife at real personal cost, a genuine act of obedience under pressure. His reward? False accusation, public humiliation, prison. His faithfulness didn't protect him from the pit. In some ways, it led him right into it. But that prison wasn't God's abandonment. It was God's classroom. A closed door can be a sign of God's activity, not His silence. Interruption is not always disapproval. Sometimes the most loving thing He can do is reduce your visible progress, so your roots can grow deeper than your platform ever could. What was actually growing beneath the surface? Now, here's the harder question, and I want you to stay with it. What exactly was God pruning? Sometimes it isn't just the wrong opportunity. Sometimes it's something inside you. When a driven, faithful person loses the thing they built for God, they often don't just lose a project. They lose who they thought they were. And that reaction, the spiraling, the shame, the I have no idea who I am without this, that reveals something important. Even the most sincere obedience can quietly become identity. You can start something genuinely for God, and somewhere along the way, without even noticing, your sense of worth gets tangled into whether it succeeds. That's not wickedness. That's humanity. But God, in His love, refuses to let a lesser thing occupy the throne of your life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. The honest question is this: if the thing you built for God never comes back, is God still enough? That question isn't meant to condemn you. It's meant to free you. Because God let your doing fail so you could rediscover your being. And that shift is one of the most significant things that can ever happen to a human soul. What silence is actually building? John the Baptist prepared the way for Jesus. He lived with radical faithfulness, total purpose, zero compromise. And he ended up in a prison cell, confused, asking through messengers whether Jesus was even who he thought he was. Are you the one who is to come, or shall we look for another? Matthew chapter 11 verse 3. That question didn't come from weakness. It came from a man sitting in the dark after a lifetime of faithfulness. And Jesus didn't rebuke him. He sent back a gentle answer and then told the crowd that John was the greatest man born of woman. God doesn't abandon people in their confusion. He meets them there. Hebrews chapter 5 verse 8 says that even Jesus learned obedience through what he suffered. Not around it, through it. If the Son of God walked that road, then hardship in the center of God's will is not evidence that something went wrong. It may be evidence that you're exactly where he needs you to be, being formed in ways that applause and success simply cannot produce. Elizabeth Elliot said it plainly, God will not protect you from anything that will make you more like Jesus. That's not a hard word. That's actually the most tender thing, because it means he hasn't forgotten you. He's just doing something in you that comfort never could. The foundation hidden in the rubble. Here's where I want to land with you. The failure you're carrying right now, it may not be a finale. It may be a foundation. Joseph's prison looked like a dead end, but the very connections he made there, the faithfulness he demonstrated in obscurity, the character refined in that season, those became the exact things that positioned him for his larger assignment. The pit was preparation, not punishment. Your current collapse might be doing the same quiet work. Maybe it's building in you a compassion for wounded people that success would have kept you from. Maybe it's giving you a discernment that only comes from having your own plans dismantled. Maybe it's freeing you from needing visible results to feel loved by God, and that freedom is worth more than any platform. You don't need to understand the whole map to take the next faithful step. The rubble may hold the blueprint, but you won't see it while you're demanding the old life back. What I want to leave you with is this. The closed door did not disqualify you. It did not mean you heard wrong. It did not mean your obedience was wasted. God can still use what broke you to remake you into something more rooted, more honest, more free than the version of you that was walking toward that door. So take a breath. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. You're in process. Drop a comment and tell me, what is one door that closed even though you truly believed you were obeying God? And what has that season revealed in you? I read those and I want to hear your story. And if you want scripture-centered videos that don't rush past real pain, that actually sit with you in the silence and help you hear God clearly in seasons of loss and waiting, subscribe. There's more here for you.